Welcome to Fouts Boxing Theory. In this video, we're going to be talking about sanctioning fees and all that bullshit and why Terence Crawford is right. Okay, so first off, we're going to talk about one thing that's very important here. We take a look at this. WBC has already bent over backwards to give Crawford a break, lowering their usual 3% sanctioning fee to just 0.6, right? If we take apart the reasoning, we're like, well, it's just like 0.6 of his $50 million supposed fee, right? Now, let's just put some things into perspective, okay? What is 3% of $10 million? Boom, 300K right there, okay? So what the WBC is essentially saying is we are going to take 3% of your money up to a $10 million purse. Are they really bending backwards for anything? They are just being a part of the event. Right? They don't promote. They don't go in there and do anything. They are just an organization that is around. Right? I want you guys to think about how crazy this is, right? Just to fight for the title, he has to pay if he makes $10 million, which we're going to take a look real quick. We'll just take a real quick look. This is all just reportedly. He made $1.3 million for this, right? So he didn't make the cap, so he got charged the full 2%. Or 3%, right? Charged the full 3%. Full 3%, full 3%, full 3%, full. 10 million, still full 3%, okay? Finally broke the cap here, full 3%. Total, I don't know if that's true, right? But it's not like he's making it out of this, right? Who in all of fighting is making that kind of money? Where they're breaking the cap of that 3%. And they get to, we'll just do 2%. We'll just do 0.6%. This completely crazy, completely disingenuous gesture, right? And then let's talk about, we'll couple that with the other completely disingenuous gesture. Well, we were going to donate $225,000 of that to this organization that we own. So it was going to help people. So, whatever. But it's like, yeah, you're going to donate some money to some organization that you own so that you don't have to pay taxes on the money that you stole from Terence Crawford. Right? It's their own organization, right? And they do it for tax reasons, not to help anybody else out. Completely for tax. Don't be fooled by rich people talking about money, right? Like Donald Trump does that to a bunch of idiots who don't have money. He talks about money because they don't know what's going on. They don't understand what being president really is. Oh, you get to be in charge of all the tax money, kind of. Right? But anyway. But let's take a look, right? Let's take a look. It's very interesting because if we take a look at another stat right here, what is 3% of 200,000? Okay? Now, if you're not Terence Crawford and you're champion and it's not unification, unifications are big. They bring more eyes. They do all this stuff. They do all this extra work for you, right? Being a big star, right? We're going to talk about a little bit about being a big star, but what if you're only getting paid $200,000? All right, you get $200,000 for this fight. Number one, you're in a crazy tax bracket because you just made $200,000. What tax bracket are you in? You're in the biggest one because you're going to fight twice. So you have $400,000. Maybe you could fight 10 times in a year. The government doesn't know. They don't know how many times in a year you're going to fight. So you're going to get this money, boom, max tax it. That's one paycheck. That's max tax bracket. That's over 50%. I think it's like 52%. But we're going to say 50%. So now he's down to $100,000. And now he also owes them $6,000, right, of his $100,000. So now he has $94,000, right? How much do you pay your coach? Wait. Hold on. How much do you pay your promoter? Don't promoters take 30%? So you made $200,000, right? And they're going to take 30%. So do we just chop that? We hit that down to $140,000? And then now half of that, right? When do you pay your promoter? Right? So let's say it's 30% of the 100 that you get, right? That's reasonable, or do they take it off the top and then you get taxed on the part that you paid your promoter? Right? I don't exactly know how it works, but let's say you get that 100,000, they take 30%, so you're down to 70,000 minus your 6,000, so you're at 64,000. $64,000. But like, if you had a 3-month camp, that's $64,000. That's like $20,000 a month, right? $21,333, whatever it is, a month. Okay, but no, it's not, because you got to pay your coaches, right? Doesn't your coach get a percent? Right? You're gonna give your cut guy a percent, right? I think Mayweather was saying there was a fiasco with the cut man or something. In the Diego Corrales fight, they were trying to get under his skin, and they offered him like 3% or 4% or 5%, whatever it was at the purse, like 3, 4, 5%, whatever it was, to be the cut man. That guy's not in camp with you all the time. He's just in the corner for the cut. He's going to get 2, 3%, and then you're going to give your coach what? Is it 10%? Is he going to get 10% of the 200,000? So he's getting 20 G's? And then he's got to pay taxes, right? So it's not even that much money to him. Trust me. So like, why is, and then like, here's the thing. Like, let's take another deep dive, right? I know you guys are saying, well, it's nothing. That's no money, blah, blah, blah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 different weight classes. All fighting what? Minimum twice a year? That's 34 paychecks a year. Minimum. Going to each one of these. Each one of these organizations is stealing 3%, up to 10% of a fighter's overall paycheck if they want to be the guy. Naoya Inoue, he wants to be the guy right here. Look at him. 10% of all of his paychecks? He's already a big star. What does he need them for? He did all the fighting. Here's another crazy thing, right? Here's the other crazy thing. Let's take a look at this, right? There was a time where I think Kavaliauskas and Terence Crawford were the 2 best welterweights in the world. And they couldn't get fights with any of the guys in the other weight classes and with any of the other champions. They had to fight each other. They had to. They couldn't fight anyone else. Why? Why? But I think they were the best. What about all those years, all that time where everyone was ducking Terence Crawford and everyone was saying, oh, Spence is going to annihilate him? You guys remember that? Terence Crawford was coming up, chasing everybody. I don't know why I'm talking about that. But these guys, let's take a look at the promoters, right? The promoters have to pay money to promote you. They spend, they invest. When they're investing, and like, here's the crazy thing, right? When you're thinking about paying your coaches, like Terence Crawford, his coaches, did his coaches get a percent of his his purse? Well, all the time that his coach spends with him, they can't be spending that time or energy with anybody else. There's an investment there with the coach. The promoter spending time and effort promoting the fighters, right? And this is a little disingenuous because what, can the promoter just make more cards, work harder, hire more people? There's a limited amount of talent, right? But when we think about it, the promoters always have something invested, right? They need their fighter to be making more money so they get a bigger chunk of the pie, right? They get a bigger chunk of money, right? From the same chunk of pie, right? But look at this list. When is it? Now, you guys remember a few years ago, they had that like big 5 versus 5, Eddie Hearn versus the other guy, and one guy, like every one of his fighters lost. I think it was Eddie Hearn's, all of his fighters lost. That means all of his fighters' next paychecks are going to be worse. That means money in his pocket is going to be worse. So he needs to make sure he's doing the best to find the best athletes and all that stuff. But what happens, right? What happened when Errol Spence lost to Terence Crawford? I don't know who was promoting Errol Spence, but they lost big. They lost big. They lost huge. That was massive for them. But it didn't matter at all to the sanctioning bodies. They didn't lose anything. They have no skin in the game. No matter what, their 3% is secure. They're always going to get it. Right? They're always going to get big money. They're always going to get the most amount from every... And why? They just show up. Right? Now here's the crazy thing, right? They don't have any skin in the game, do they? Well, here you go. A guy who has no ranking at welterweight. He lost his only welterweight fight, right? No, that was Rolly. He lost it at 140 or whatever. Or he lost to Rolly, right? And why was he getting to fight for that title anyway? Because he makes money. Because he increases the amount of money that the sanctioning bodies can get. So this guy, because he has an audience, because he did all the work himself already, the sanctioning body is going to say, okay, well, we'll let you fight for the title because you're going to pay. You're going to pay real good. So we're going to let you maybe be champion. But they're doing the same exact thing that the promoters are doing. Why do we care what these guys say? With blatant corruption like this. They're not forcing the best fights. A guy like Kavaliauskas, who couldn't get to be champion when Errol Spence got to be champion? It's just absurd. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it doesn't matter what move these sanctioning bodies make because they always have a champion at the end of the day. So they're going to maximize who they get to make the most amount of money from. Like, how crazy is it that, they're begging for all this money from Crawford and then giving a handout to Ryan Garcia, like it's not a business. And again, these guys, right? Terrence Crawford inspires people. Ryan Garcia inspires people too, right? I'm not going to take that away from him, right? People want to be him. People want to be Shakur. People want to be Devin Haney. That's great. These guys risk, I don't want to say risk their lives. Like, it's kind of, but I think that's like corny. Like, yeah, kind of like some of those guys that go in there and they get beat up too long. I'm not going to debate it. It's true. It's true, right? But they go out there and they fight and they train really, really, really hard. They bleed so much more than you get to see in the fight. They train so much harder than you get to see in the fight. They work. They dedicate. Floyd Mayweather is really the only guy to really put on how hard he works on display. He loves the limelight. But these guys work so hard. And they inspire so many people when they finally make it. But where's the WBC before Terrence Crawford was champion? When Terrence Crawford was struggling, when he didn't have any money. When he didn't know if he was going to make it. When he got shot, didn't he get shot in the head? Where was the WBC? Were they investing in him? Does the guy who runs the WBC inspire anybody? Is that guy a hero to you? Do you even know? Do you even know what he looks like? What about any of those guys from any of the organizations? Does the work that they do make you want to be a better person, make you want to train harder, work harder, be a better athlete, a better martial artist? And the whole time, the people that inspire you, that uplift you, the people that get you to come to my channel and leave stupid comments, they're struggling. They're struggling. On the way up, they're struggling. Look at all the limelight that Lamont Roach is getting now that he's champion. Do you know how hard his life was before he was champion? Even while he was champion, people didn't really know who he was before the Tank Davis fight. Had a guy in my Discord, bro, I'm telling you, this guy's legit. He's going to fuck Davis up. Some guy in my Discord was telling me that. I was like, man, you crazy, bro. coming in here with his goofball shit sometimes, man. But because he's from the area, right? So he trained with them. He's been in the gym with that guy, so he was like all on him. But he was right. Gave him hell of a fight. A little bit bigger than Tank, right? But that's neither here nor there. When we think about these guys making $200,000 and having to give up to 10% or even just 6%, how often are these guys even working? Look at how much money you have to make for it not to feel like it matters. Look. Jeff Horn, $1.8 million. How many more times did he make this much money? 3% of it went to the sanctioning fees, and he'll never make that money again. Ever. He might not ever make even $300,000 again for a fight. And what did he pay in sanctioning fees? They both pay them. Right? It's not even like just one guy pays it. What about this guy? How much money is he ever going to make in his career? Is he done? 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 I mean, some of these guys are not done, right? But is the WBC going to take some of that 3% and save Jeff Horn? What about, I don't think Ricky Hatton was ever struggling with any money. Rest in peace. Ricky Hatton passed away this year. I don't know if you guys know that. How crazy is that? Did they pay for his funeral? How much money did he make them? He was depressed. There's a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to talk out of my ass. I don't know that much about it. Heavy drinker, all that stuff. Were they helping him? Is that what the WBC does? Not that this is what this video is about, right? But these organizations, they're always getting money. They're never investing in fighters. They don't have to. There's no risk on their part. And they get away with doing shit like this whenever they want. Whenever they just want to make some money. This guy was already banned from fighting for the WBC belt, and he gets a gift like this. That's how corrupt this is. That's how disgusting it is. And that guy to get on that thing and talk shit like, oh, we're relieved that we don't have to be working with Terrence Crawford anymore. And how crazy is it? Mario Barrios is going to be fighting this guy, getting his paycheck. Good for Barrios, right? And then for whatever reason, Conor Benn is going to get a crack at the title. Again, more blatant corruption because those guys can make a lot of money and the WBC can get paid on both ends. Again, absolute corruption. And again, like, you see that he's making all this money, right? But this is 1.3, right? First off, you got to cut it in half, right? How much of it goes straight to the tax man? You got to pay your training partners. You got to pay your camp. You got to pay your mortgage. Look at this. He fought twice in 2018. He still has to pay his mortgage every month. I know he got 1.5 million here minus sanctioning fees. What was it like? It's like almost 10%, right? He had a couple belts now. No, did he get all the belts from Spence? He only had one. But in any case, he's not making this much money. You know, boxing is, as much as you train by yourself and you do this, you go in the ring, it's a team sport. Your coach is investing his career, right? Everything that he does is connected to you. Everything that you do is connected to the coach. They're sacrificing their life. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, when you're allowed to make the most amount of money, someone else swoops in and gets the first cut for no reason. The whole thing is just despicable.